Welcome everyone to Vested Interest. Shane back again for another video. Today we are going to do something completely new. We are going to just chat it up a little bit. I'm not going to cover any stocks. I'm just going to talk to you about a topic that has been on my mind for a while. We are going to talk about a poor versus a rich mindset. And I really do appreciate everyone out there who's taken the time to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below if you find value in the video at any time. Hit that notification bell, hit the thumbs up. Let me know what you think about the video in the comment section down below. Let's jump right into the video. So we'll start off. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who may not know. I did not grow up with money. I grew up to a pretty poor family. I grew up in a double-wide trailer in a little town called Mayville, Michigan. Go ahead and look it up for a laugh. It is actually called the Village of Mayville, real small town. Neither one of my parents graduated high school, so I did not come from a doctors or lawyers or very educated family either. Both my parents had kids very young. I think my mom was 17, my dad was 18. My dad ran away from high school or from his stepdad long before he got into high school. I think he might have been a freshman, maybe. But anyways, so it's not like I came into any money or started life with a bunch of money or had a big leg up like some people. So I know some people watch my videos, you might see the amount I put in every week and think this guy, come from a wealthy family or the pictures I put of the lake out back. I have worked my way up, and a lot of it, in my opinion, starts with a mindset. I've had a lot of jobs. I started working whenever I was 13 years old, detasseling corn with some buddies of mine. Our parents would take turns driving us to detassel corn. We just walk through the fields and pick the top of the tassels off of corn for seed corn, right? Next year, whenever I was 14, I trimmed Christmas trees one year at Pennywick Tree Farm. Then I asked my dad if he was going to help me get a car. I think I was about 15 years old. He woke me up the summer of my freshman year, and I started working in construction. And actually, I started working a lot sooner before that. My dad was a mason, so he was a union mason guy who laid block and brick and stone. I did a lot of side jobs with him. I never got paid. He would always, whenever I would ask him, if I was going to get paid, he'd always tell me, "Well, do you like to eat whenever you get home? The basketball shoes you're going to get for playing basketball or running track or playing football, I'm going to pay for those." My mom worked a little bit in and out. She would work in shops or cleaning houses, stuff like that. So it's not like we came from a lot of money. So you don't have to start from a wealthy family to build yourself up and to be able to do this or have a background in finance or any of that. So don't think that is, but you do have to change your mindset, right? I grew up where there was a lot of mindset about, people holding you back or you can't do this, or there's limitations on what you can do because of the family you were born into or the area you were born into or how you were raised. None of that matters. If you have the drive and the will and the dedication, there's nothing in life that you can't achieve. I went into the military shortly after I graduated high school. Before I joined the military, I was working in the union myself as a laborer. So that's where I started, right out of high school. A union laborer making 19 bucks an hour back in 1998. That's when I graduated high school. Maybe I might be dating myself a little bit. I am 44 years old. So I'm all right with that, everyone knowing how old I am. But I did the work in college for a year and a half, right? Worked in the union as a laborer during the day, and at nights I went to Delta College at night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Saturdays I would go in whenever I had labs or something like that, or Saturday class that I could pick up trying to get it done. I did that for about a year and a half. It was a little bit too much. So I actually jumped on a bus. It was the middle of winter, and I only owned a Harley at the time. I bought my first Harley whenever I graduated high school because I did make pretty good money as a laborer throughout high school. Every summer I worked as a laborer, my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Every summer I was working. Whenever people were taking Christmas vacations or spring break, I'd work, and I'd make $400, $500, $600 a week, 15, 16, $17 an hour in cash for a guy named Wayne Tewksbury. Right. So I worked, I did a lot of work, and then, like I said, went to college right after I graduated high school at nights and on the weekends. That got to be a little too much, so I jumped on a bus. I went down south. My uncle got me a job driving a crane on a Dallas County Detention Center, and to be honest with you, I had never driven a crane before in my life. I showed up in Dallas downtown, and my uncle picked me up at the bus station, took me down to the just a big open lot at the time, pointed across the lot and said, "Hey, I need you to get on that crane and figure out how to ride it, because I told the guy that is hiring you in the morning that you've been doing this for several years and you knew what you were doing. So I spent the next couple hours trying to figure out how to work this crane and build this and make this crane do what I needed it to do. Worked with him for a little while. After that job, several months, we finished up that job. I got another job building forms for tilt-up walls, all in construction. And one day we got rained out, so I jumped on my Harley. I was kind of tired of doing that. Wanted to go back to school. I rode my Harley back up to Michigan, 18 hours. Took me about a day and a half. Stayed in a couple hotels on the way, and joined the military. And then I went to school at night while I was in the military. Did that, got out, still didn't get my degree. It took me another 8 years on and off, going to school at night, working full time to get my degree. When I got out of the military, I started my career in construction management on the management side, which is what I do now. So I did graduate, finally got my bachelor's there in occupational safety and health. Years later, I actually started in architectural design, did construction management throughout, and then wrapped it up with a occupational safety and health degree there at the end. And I did some creative things along the way. I found a school after while I was in the military. I invested in the GI Bill, and I utilized that whenever I got out, and I actually got paid to finish up my degree by finding a college that didn't charge me, because I was a veteran, for classes or books or anything. So I was able to dip into the GI Bill, pocket that money, and go to school on the college for free, because I was a veteran. So there are ways that you can go to school without it. I mean, I'm not saying everyone should join the military, but if that's the way you got to do it, that's the way you got to do it. Get creative. Don't think that you can't do it or set limitations on yourself. That's really the worst thing you can do. So that's a little bit about me. I do have 2 daughters. I think I've mentioned that before. I'm married. I've got my own house. I have made a little bit of money in real estate. I bought a house whenever I was in the military in Utah. Ogden, Utah was my first home. I made about $30,000 on that house. Kept it for 4.5 years. Actually rented it out a year after I got out of the military there, and rented it out and pocketed a little bit of money there. I bought a house in Detroit whenever the market tanked back in 2010. Everyone said I was crazy. Detroit was never coming back. I told them all I didn't really need it to come back. I just needed it to come back 50%. My wife and I made about $300,000 on that one, and then we used that money to buy the place that we're in now in St. Clair Shores on Lake St. Clair. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell. But let's get back into the rest of the video here. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else and eliminate negative self-talk. So this is a big one, right? It all starts with the mindset. All right. If you say, my dad used to tell me this, and it was a quote that I had whenever I was in high school, and you give your senior quotes and all that sort of stuff. My dad told me, he said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And what that really means is, if you believe you can do something, more than likely you're already halfway there, right? But if you don't believe you can do it, you're never going to accomplish it. You've already defeated yourself before you even start taking that first step, right? So it starts with the mindset. You've got to eliminate that negative talk and believe that you can do it, or at least lie to yourself, right? Fake it. Another friend of mine used to say, fake it till you make it, right? So you got to stop telling yourself you can't do it before you even start doing it. And that's really the first step. Once you get past that, I'll give you another example. I have a real good friend of mine who is always kind of down on himself. But then whenever you talk to him, and I pointed it out to him one time, we were sitting down talking, his house is paid off, right? 90% of the people I know, their house is not paid off. He has very few bills, right? He works whenever he needs to or wants to. He doesn't have to work every day if he doesn't want to, because his house is paid off. He lives kind of below his means. He's not out blowing all his money on stuff that he doesn't need. So if he would just eliminate half of it, right, and take the next step, because he's always saying, I want to invest, I should invest, but then he never takes that next step. So that's part of it too. Once you eliminate that negative self-talk, the next step is to take action, right? So next, I wanted to touch on a few other things that go along with mindset, right? Have you ever heard of an actor or someone who won the lotto, or an athlete? They're making millions of dollars, maybe they won millions of dollars, and then within a couple of years after they're no longer an actor, or no longer being a professional athlete, or after they've won the lotto, they're completely broke. If you give someone with the wrong mindset millions of dollars, they're going to go out and blow millions of dollars. It's just the way it's going to happen. And it's repeated itself over and over and over and over again. They don't understand how to use money. They don't understand what to do with money. So it doesn't matter how much money you give them, they're just going to blow it. They're going to spend it on things and not do with it what they should do with it. And that's the same for you, right? If you keep telling yourself, well, I'm going to buy that new car, I'm going to buy that new sofa, I'm going to buy all the stuff that I want, versus utilizing my money to buy assets, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit, then it doesn't matter how much money that you make. I'll start investing whenever I get that next promotion, or I'll get a side hustle so that I can make more money and I'll invest that money. Well, but then whenever you get that money, you're thinking about, well, what can I buy? What do I need right now, right? So it all starts with that mindset. You can make millions of dollars, and there are people who make millions of dollars who go broke. And on the flip side of that, there are example of people who don't make much money and they retire millionaires, right? Because they have the mindset that works in their advantage, that hey, I might not have the money now, but in 20 years from now, if I put a little bit away every month, or a little bit away every week, or a little bit away whenever I get my tax returns back or my bonus, instead of adjusting my lifestyle up, I invest that money, then I can be financially free in 20 years, 30 years. We'll talk about time here in a minute as well. The first step is to have a plan, and it starts with the budget. If you don't know where your money is going, what you're spending it on, how much everything that costs, then you will never be able to create a surplus. And that's the idea. You have to create a surplus. And that is the money. The surplus is the money that you take to invest. That's the key. So you know how much money you make, you know how much money your bills are. Sit down, write it all out. Let's just go through your mortgage, right? What is that? Your electric, what is that? You have a cable bill, what is that? Do you have a automobile loan? What is that? Do you have insurance costs? What is that? Do you have gas bill? What is that? Write all of these down. Write all of these down. And whenever I make a budget, I actually include what I'll call miscellaneous spending, or frivolous spending, funds. Call it fun spend if you want, whatever you want. It's the amount of money that you're going to spend, paying for gas to get to work, having lunch, if you go out to lunch, and these are things you can eliminate or back off too. Going out to the movies on a Friday night, or renting a movie online, taking your wife or your girlfriend out for dinner, whatever it is, allow yourself some miscellaneous spend in there, right? So that you're not so strapped for cash that you're like, geez, this sucks. I spend all my money on my bills. I don't have anything left for myself, or I don't have anything left to invest. And you've got to eliminate that as well, because I guarantee there are things in there, whenever you look at that and start breaking down your budget, that you'll see that you can eliminate. Stop buying a pop at lunch. Stop going out to lunch. Make yourself a sandwich instead of going out to lunch, or make yourself a lunch. I take leftovers from dinner the night before or 2 nights before for my lunch a lot, right? Now, granted, I will let myself go out to lunch every now and again. And to be honest with you, in my particular career field, a lot of times I have people who are trying to get a job, or want to do work with our business, where they'll take me out to lunch. So that's a lot of times how I go out to lunch. I'll let one of the contractors that works for me buy me a lunch. Right? But you have to make a budget, and you have to create a surplus. And if you can't do that based on your current income, you need to find a way to increase your income, whether that's getting another skill, right? So get certified in something that you need to get certified in. Take a night class if you need to take a night class, so that you can get a promotion. Get a side hustle. You can deliver. We have people that bring Grubhub to our house. You can deliver food. You can deliver groceries. We have people that deliver our groceries. My wife has a lot of delivery services. To be honest with you, if I had my way, we'd cut them all out. But I'm not going to argue with my wife. I will say, happy wife, happy life. And we're blessed to make enough money now where we can do some of those other things. But whenever I was, making a lot less, I did everything for myself. I mowed my own yard. I still mow. I use a push mower and mow my own yard still to this day. So get rid of all the excess you can out of your budget, so that you can create the surplus to be able to invest, because that's what you have to do. You have to be able to have more money than your incoming bills. And if, like I said, if you have to get a second job for a while, or you have to create a new skill or learn something new, get a degree, whatever it is you need to do it to create your surplus. And don't, again, goes back to the negative. I can't do it. I don't have the time to do it. You can come up with a million reasons why you can't do something, but I guarantee you there's times where you're sitting around for 2 hours watching a movie, or you're just hanging out with some friends, not doing, really, which is great. Don't say you shouldn't spend time with friends and family, but I guarantee you there is time for the making yourself better and continually educating yourself. Research investing, read books on investing, right? If you want to get into investing, the first thing you need to do is make sure you understand it. So go get books from Buffett. Well, I can't afford books. Well, then go to the library, get a library card. Don't buy a book. Go rent it from the library, read it, and return it. Go sit at, used to be Barnes and Nobles. I would go sit into a Barnes and Noble whenever I had a lot of time, and I'd sit there and read a book instead of buying it, and then I'd put it back on a shelf, and whenever I'd write down what page I was on, and I'd go back in the next day or next week, and I'd read a little bit more, and that way I didn't have to buy a book. Now I buy books on Amazon and have them sent to the house. But there are ways to do and learn whatever you want to do, right? So once you set that budget, right, and you've created a surplus, buy assets, not liabilities. And what is and this is where a rich person versus poor person's brain comes into play as well. Poor people will get paid and they'll think, what can I buy myself? I need new shoes. I need a new purse. I need a new car. I want to go out to dinner. I want to go out to a movie. A rich person will say, I'm going to buy stocks, bonds, an asset, right, that makes me money, a rental property, uh, it's something like that before they go on that vacation. They buy that new car. They'll do that before. I'll buy stocks in the car maker, right? Go buy GM stock if you're going to buy a GM car. Go buy Nike stock before you're going to buy new shoes. That's what a rich person will do. They are buying the asset that returns them money versus the liability that you buy one time and it depreciates in value. Right? It depreciates in value, right? As soon as you buy those pair of shoes or the pair of sneakers and you get a scuff on them, right? What are you freaking out? Oh man, I just bought $60 pair of shoes and I got a scuff on them. As soon as you buy that car and you drive it off the lot, it drops in value. Every mile you put on it drops it in value. Those are not assets, unless you're buying a car to go be a Grubhub or a Uber driver, right? That may return an asset. That's a return on your capital. But other than that, you need to be looking at return on capital. What am I buying? What is it returning me? Right? Am I buying a stock that pays me a dividend? That's what I buy. I buy a lot of dividend stocks so that they return me dividends. And can I buy a property and rent it out to somebody? Right? Instead of buying my first house for myself, maybe I rent and I buy a property to lease out or rent out to somebody. Or am I in a house right now and I can lease out a bedroom or rent out a bedroom, right? That returns me a profit. That's another way to create income, right? Do I have a boat that I can put online and rent out to somebody on the weekends, right? Can I walk up and down my block and put a flyer in someone's mailbox to create? This goes back to budget and creating a surplus. Here's another way to do it. A flyer. I'll clean windows. I'll mow your grass. I'll weed your garden. A flyer of all the handyman stuff that you can do, right? So use your surplus after you've set your budget and you've created that surplus, whether it's getting a side hustle, whether it's getting that promotion, getting a new skill so you can get a better job, whatever it is, and you created that budget. Now you know where your money's going. You've created that surplus. Now you need to buy assets, not liabilities, right? Time is your friend. Here is another one that people often forget. Time is going to pass anyway. We are all growing older. None of us are going to get out of this alive, right? Well, there's few things that are not standard for, or that are standard for everyone. We're all going to be born. We're all going to die. Time is going to pass regardless of what we do. You can sit around complaining about your whole life through and never accomplish anything, or you can get to work accomplishing something, and time's going to pass the same regardless, right? So use time as you grow. And even if it's, I can only invest $20 a week, or I can only invest $20 a month, or I can only invest $20 every 6 months, that $20 over time invested in something like a dividend paying stock, an ETF, a bond, a mutual fund, anything like that is going to grow over time. So that time's going to pass. Let it be your friend, right? But that only happens if you start investing. If you let time be your enemy, right? Well, I'll start investing whenever I get that promotion. All right, you've just lost whatever that time is. What, 6 months? Maybe it took you 6 months to get that promotion. Well, you could have been investing for 6 months, even if it's $1 a day. Well, that's enough to invest. You can buy fractional shares. You can put it in a interest-bearing savings account, right? I'll put $1 a day in an interest-bearing savings account, and whenever I get to $100, then I invest it. Well, at least in the savings account, it's accruing interest, right? Or, like I said, you can open brokerage accounts now where you can buy fractional shares and invest $1 a day. But let time be your friend, right? 20 years is going to pass before you know it. For those of you who are in your age, most of my viewers are in their 24 to 44, my age, right? And that goes for me also. I'm going to be 65 like that. So I would rather have my money in an account that's returning interest to me and utilizing time as my friend than have it sitting on a shelf, not doing anything for me, and that same time is going to pass. So utilize time and let time be your friend instead of the enemy, right? We're all going to grow old and gray and a little bit uglier than we were last year. So I'd rather be a little bit, let that time make, while I get a little bit uglier, let that time make me a little bit wealthier. All right, well, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I don't usually do videos like this because I don't want you to feel like I'm preaching at you or standing up on a soapbox telling you something that you feel like you don't want to hear or you don't care about. But it all comes down to mindset. You can have a poor person's mindset where you make a bunch of excuses why you can't do it, why you can't make yourself better, why you can't invest in yourself as far as education, why you can't read an investing book, why you can't get online. And most of you are halfway there. If you're online right now looking at investing sites, you're already taking the step to try to make yourself better, right? So take the next step and just actually invest. Oh, I'm afraid I might make a mistake. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. We're all going to make mistakes. I've made investments. Last year, I bought a company called Zim. I bought it for $80. I think it's in the $20 now. Now, granted, I sold it whenever I realized that it was a mistake and that it was continually losing value, even though it was high dividends. But we are all going to make mistakes. The greatest investors in the world make mistakes. Warren Buffett has made mistakes. He'll tell you some of the worst mistakes he made. Kraft Heinz was a big mistake that he invested in. He paid way too much for it, and it's not even worth what he bought it at. So don't, and again, that comes back to don't compare yourself to other people, right? So here's some tips. I hope that they help. Again, not trying to preach at you, not trying to discourage you. I'm actually trying to encourage you. You can do it. You don't have to come from a wealthy family. I did not. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. I'm sure I ramble at times and don't say the right words whenever I need to. And like I said, I make mistakes. The biggest thing is don't be discouraged by your mistakes. It's no different than whenever you were a baby and you learned to walk. You fell down, and I fell down hundreds of times. And if you'd have stopped, you'd have never learned to run, right? But because you kept getting up every time you fell down, you did learn to run. At some point in your life, you learned to run, you learned to walk, and then you moved on to the next thing. So don't be afraid of failure. Create that budget. Use the surplus to buy assets, right? Change your mindset. Get rid of that negative talk. I can do it. I'm rich. I'm rich. Tell yourself every day, I'm rich. Look at what you do have versus what you don't have. Think about who you can be instead of who you are today. All right, that's it. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I hope this helped somebody. As always, appreciate you stopping by. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to show me some love. Hit that thumbs up. Ring the notification bell. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button down below. Join me on this journey to financial freedom. Hopefully you are on your own journey as well. And if you have not started a brokerage account, if you have not started your journey in investing, I do have a Webull link down below. If you use that and deposit some money in and start your investing journey today, you'll get some free stocks. I'll get some free stocks. It is a way to help out the channel. Another great way to help out the channel, like I said, hit that thumbs up, ring the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, subscribe. That really does help out a small YouTube channel like me with the YouTube algorithm. And drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of videos like this. I know this is a little bit different than what I typically do. Again, hopefully this helps somebody. I do personally read and respond to the comments. I'm always interested to read your questions, opinions, suggestions for future topics, or constructive criticism. Go ahead and drop it all down below. And this is Shane signing off, wishing peace and prosperity to you and yours. And remember, financial security comes to those who take a vested interest. It is all about you. You have to take the next step. No one is going to do it for you. Hope you have a great week, and we will see you in the next one. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing in this presentation should be considered financial advice. I'm only sharing my opinion and investing journey for educational and entertainment purposes. Investing involves risk. You can't lose money. You should never invest any amount you're not comfortable losing. Always do your own research. Invest based on your situation, circumstances, and selected criteria, or seek the advice and counsel of a certified financial advisor.